Good morning. I'm Captain Faith Flippo, Captain of the Richmond City Police Department Training Academy. Welcome to the graduation of the 128th Basic Recruit Class. Welcome for this important day for these new officers. I'd like to thank family and friends for being here in celebration. I'd like to thank RPD personnel who are here in support. Thanks also to the mayor, to our council members. I know I saw Reva out there, thank you ma'am. And other jurisdictions. I see Hanover and Capitol Police, retired ATF Brian Swan, Virginia State Police, and any other of our jurisdictions. Thank you very much for being here today. The 128th class will forever be held dear to me, as they were my first recruit class since I'd been assigned here at the Training Academy that I was able to be a part of from start to finish. I was able to show them love and attention during their welcome aboard, their transitional training, and their commissioning. I saw them grow from the infamous first few days of the academy to strong, competent police officers as they journeyed through field training. They grew as individuals as well as a team, and that is what is key for success here at the Richmond City Police Department. You work hard and work together. You adapt to your surroundings and you keep your focus on the mission at hand. I know they will thrive as they move on to this exciting new chapter. These officers here today endured 32 weeks of training. They were challenged and pushed to earn their badges while displaying grit, determination, and commitment. Then they expanded their skills to the techniques in successful field training. This journey from recruit to officer is an epic one. And now let's hear what it was like as we welcome to the microphone the 128th Recruit Class President, Officer Vuti Ham, to sum up the class and their training experience.
Good morning. On behalf of our class, I want to first start by thanking Mayor Stoney, Chief Edwards, the Academy staff, our esteemed guests, family and friends for joining us today and celebrating this special day. Today we stand before you as graduates of the Richmond Police Department, Basic Recruit Class 128, and what a journey it has been. Starting in January 2024, we came together from different walks of life, each of us bringing unique personalities, skill sets, and life experiences. From a bartender to military veterans, to a paramedic, to a college students, we have learned throughout these last 10 months that our differences and similarities will become our strengths, and they have shaped us into the team we are today. During this journey, we faced both physical and mental challenges that pushed us to our limits. From grueling workout sessions filled with what seems like endless burpees, push-ups, air squats, run, we push our bodies to exhaustion each day. As far as mental hurdles, each of us encountered moments of doubt, stress, and uncertainty. Yet, despite these challenges, we persevered. We learned to lean on one another, to encourage and believe in each other, to trust the process, and most importantly, to celebrate our victories together, no matter how small. We encountered moments that were, let me say, less than pleasant. Being exposed to CS gas, sprayed with OC, and even tased. These experiences were not just about toughening us up. They taught us resilience, the importance of for us to step out of our comfort zone, and means to control the situations. Along the way, we learned to place our personal differences aside and focus on our collective goals. By recognizing our individual strengths and weaknesses, we built a team that could tackle any challenge. Together, we became a family, bound by shared experiences, mutual respect, and common purpose. The Richmond Police Academy experience wasn't always full of hardships or adherence to strict discipline. There were plenty of comical moments along the way. For example, we quickly learned as a class to not touch things that did not belong to us, especially hot sauce. That spicy lesson had a longer effect on some of us more than others. And who can forget 0? It's actually a number, mostly when it came to doing burpees and push-ups. Right when you think you're about to finish an exercise, somehow we're back at 0. We also discovered that trash cans can serve more purposes than just holding garbage. Let's just say some of us had intimate encounters with those trash cans during our intense workouts. And after countless lunges and stairwell runs, my classmate and I can agree that climbing Mount Everest would be a cakewalk. Before I conclude, I want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to the incredible training staff at the Richmond Police Academy. Your dedication, expertise, unwavering commitment over the last 10 months have made all the difference in our journey thus far. Thank you for your excellent training and the tough love you showed us along the way. You pushed us to our limits, challenging us not just physically, but mentally and intellectually. It was not always easy, but it was necessary, and it has prepared us to face the realities of police work with confidence. We are incredibly grateful for your commitment to our growth and success. Thank you for believing in us and for laying the foundation for our careers in law enforcement. Lastly, to my fellow graduates, today marks the beginning of an exciting chapter in our lives. Let's continue to support one another, celebrate our diversity, and strive to make a positive impact on the city of Richmond. To everyone here, without a doubt, Basic Recruit Class 128 have earned the right to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Ham. Right now, we'd like to invite the Mayor, Levar Stoney, to give his remarks to the class. We thank him for being here today in support of our new class of officers for the great city of Richmond. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Captain Flippo. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Folks, it's great to be with you here one last time. Today marks 75 days as I have left in office serving as the mayor of the great city of Richmond, making the 128th my last and final recruit class to come through the academy. Before I dig into my remarks, I wanted to take a moment of personal privilege and say a few things about the individual I've had an honor to work with for the last few years, and that is your chief, Rick Edwards. Folks, give him a round of applause, please. Chief, it's been an honor to work alongside you, not only as the chief, but also as an officer as well. And I want you to know I have the utmost respect for your leadership. If you looked in the dictionary and you see the word leadership, you probably see a picture of a bald-headed white guy named Rick Edwards.
You forgot handsome.
You know, I've always believed that leadership is about flexibility, agility, and not rigidity. In order to be a leader, you have to be able to adapt to the situation when the time comes, when the moment comes. And what I've seen from your leadership, Chief, is that you've been able to do that each and every turn. And I want you to know that I am grateful for your, number one, accepting the job as chief, but also coming to work every day and leading this fine agency. It has been an honor, a true honor, to work alongside you. Thank you. Folks, I'd also like to welcome the family and friends of the 12 graduates of the 128th Basic Recruit Class who have joined us today to celebrate this momentous occasion here. You are the rock that will ground these new officers, because the honorable duty that they will perform for the residents of the great city of Richmond will not be easy. So it is critical that you are their support team through the highs and the lows of service to the great city of Richmond. As I'm sure the 128th learned during their many hours and weeks in the training academy, public safety is the bedrock of a community, the backbone, the front bone, and the middle bone of our community, ensuring that residents can live their lives free from violence and harm and have the opportunity to thrive. And all of you will play a pivotal role in maintaining public safety, from promoting justice to fostering a sense of security and inclusion within our communities. You will answer the call and dedicate your lives to protecting residents, responding to emergencies, putting yourself in harm's way, and preventing potential threats. You will make a promise to be a community of leaders, to engage, to collaborate, and to foster a safer and more harmonious environment. And lastly, you will take an oath to uphold the law and ensure fairness, equality, and justice. Without you, the rule of law would be compromised and our democratic norms wouldn't exist. Indeed, you will see Richmonders at their best: kind, compassionate, charitable. And you will also see Richmonders at their worst: violent, rude, harsh, unpredictable. However, the training you've received here at this academy will allow you to show up and respond as professionals, the best in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I know that few people can or will have a greater impact on the lives of those who live, work, play in our community than you will. I know this job will not be easy. I know that you will be tested mentally and physically, but I also know that through your training, you have demonstrated the character and the devotion to duty that it takes to make a difference in our community, in our city. It will now be in your trust, this city. And I urge you to hold that trust sacred. Seek justice with understanding, empathy, and compassion. Fight ignorance just as hard as you fight crime. Be accountable to yourself, to your colleagues, and to your city. And be the positive influence in the lives of the people you serve. The department is in good hands with the 128th being added to its ranks. So before I conclude, I would like to thank the staff of the Richmond Police Training Academy for their leadership, their dedication in producing another class of Richmond's finest. And because being the family member of a police officer is also a form of service and sacrifice, let me thank again those who encouraged and supported these recruits through their training. Finally, to the men and women of the 128th Basic Recruit Class, I want you to know that you have my full support and that your city is counting on you. Congratulations on this special day. Thank you.
Thank you. You've heard a little bit of what the Academy consists of. Now let's take a look at what's become a tradition here at the Richmond Police Department graduations, a video documenting the recruits' experience that provides a small sampling of what they did to get here today. This video was produced by our own RPD Public Affairs Unit.
It was pretty brutal, but we deserved it. You know, coming from the Marine Corps, I was already kind of used to this a little bit, but still going into another setting like this type of training environment with different people from different backgrounds and ages and everything. It was really cool seeing everybody. It took a little while, but everybody kind of started coming together and like adapting.
You all were selected from hundreds of applications, not because you're perfect people, but because we saw something in you that led us to believe you could join this police department. And it starts today. I can promise you, as I don't expect perfection, what I expect is improvement.
Good job. Thank you.
It reminded me of basic training all over again. So how to, to get through the obstacle or the task, you have to work as a team. And then the physical part too was, I enjoyed it. It was demanding and challenging.
They told us we were going through CMT day.
Slow and steady.
So we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna get gas today. We're gonna go through the CS. And I remember looking out the trailer window and I'm like, wait, there's a whole bunch of SWAT guys here. No, the gas wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as the OC. Yeah, OC. OC was the worst. OC was awful. Like OC.
All right, how many fingers?
I think I had the worst reaction in the class towards it. Like, it really messed up my face and stuff. But no, don't recommend.
Blink. Maintain your composure. All right, how many fingers? 4. Go.
One of the top pains that I felt.
Elbows.
It's manageable. You can fight through it and everything. But if you never experienced it, it's like you get sprayed the first 2 seconds. You're like, oh, and you open your eyes. And you're like, oh, I can see the numbers, and then it just hits you like a wall.
EVOC was, I enjoy it. I think, yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit because I'd never driven a vehicle like that before.
Well, I'm 5 in pursuit.
To see the capability of our, cruiser, it's pretty awesome.
That was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait, we get to drive these? Like this, we're gonna actually get to do this?
Adam 1, traffic stop.
The only way to make it through stuff like that is by a team.
If you run, K9 will be released.
It took everybody a while to get that. Until that happened, it was kind of a rough ride.
Yeah, I think I had a skewed perspective on like what police work was really like before I came in, because I didn't have a law enforcement family. I never had like somebody to really refer to.
This is the Richmond Police Department. Come outside with your hands up.
Is he writing me a ticket? Damn it.
Learn a lot of stuff about yourself, your classmates as well too, how to work with your partners in high stress situations and problem solve.
It feels right. It feels right to be here. This is my home city and I was born here. Even though I grew up in the county, like it just feels correct that like I came here to start my career.
I really don't know what to expect at this point, but I am very excited. I know I'm in good hands, so whatever comes my way, I think I'll be ready for it.
That was that love and attention I was talking about earlier. Got to see a little more. All right, and now to assist me in presenting the awards to the class, it's Training Academy Instructor Officer Hall and Chief Edwards. So we have a series of awards that each recruit can earn during their time here. First one is the Physical Fitness Award. The Physical Fitness Award is presented to the recruit who had the highest average on all of the physical fitness tests given throughout recruit training. The recipient of the Physical Fitness Award is Officer Vuti Ham. The Emergency Vehicle Operation Award, the EVOC Award, is presented to the recruit who displayed outstanding judgment and control while operating a police vehicle. The recruits were tested on a variety of driving courses to include quick reaction courses, skid control, emergency response, and day and night pursuit driving. The 128th top driver is Officer John Ridenour. The Firearms Award. This award is given to the recruit who obtained the highest average score on all of the department and DCJS firearms qualification courses. The officer demonstrated a high level of proficiency and safety with the department-issued handgun and shotgun. The recipient of the Firearms Award is Officer John Ridenour. The Captain Vernon F. Mike Hall Award. This award is named in memory of Captain Hall for his contributions to police training. This award is given to the recruit that maintained the highest academic average throughout the recruit training. The recipient of the Captain Vernon Mike Hall Award is Officer Ryan Donald. The Nancy White Thomas Award. This award is in honor of Mrs. Nancy White Thomas for her inspiration and contributions to recruit training for over 42 years. Ms. Thomas passed away in 2007. However, she remains a very special friend to the Richmond Police family and has been an inspiration to every basic recruit class since 1966. I think every officer here can remember the maps that we received, Chief. This outstanding award recognizes the recruit who has demonstrated the most outstanding overall performance throughout recruit training. The recipient of the Nancy White Thomas Award is Officer Ryan Donald. Servant leadership is defined as a philosophy and set of practices that enrich the lives of individuals, builds better organizations, and ultimately create a more just and caring world. The J.D. Ross Servant Leadership Award is named in honor of retired RPD Sergeant James Ross, otherwise known as J.D., who is coming up here right now. It is awarded to the recruit in each graduating class that best exemplifies the core traits of a true servant leader. J.D. exemplified the philosophy of servant leadership every day in that his actions were always focused on the betterment of his personnel and this organization. Some of the core traits possessed by any good leader are accountability, selflessness, humility, dependability, and respect for others. Today's recipient has consistently demonstrated these core traits over the past 32 weeks, as witnessed by the members of the 128th Basic Recruit Class. Therefore, it is my honor and privilege to present the J.D. Ross Servant Leadership Award to Officer Vuti Ham. Thank you. The officers were sworn in on August 15th here at the Academy. This was a private ceremony, as we recognize there was still more work to be done. Once a recruit gets sworn in, they must pass 8 weeks of eye-opening field training. The trainees undergo application of the many lessons they learned during their 32-week academy. Field training consists of 2 4-week sessions with a field training officer. They could switch precincts, enter shifts, and this requires each trainee to respond under the normal stressors of the job, on top of learning a new environment. In most cases, each trainee will undergo massive headaches and exhaustion the first 3 to 4 weeks, as they start to realize why the academy cadre was so tough on them. Officers experience shootings, foot pursuits, accidents, homicides, helping citizens, community events, and so much more. It is only after they have passed field training that they become a certified police officer in the city of Richmond under the Commonwealth of Virginia. So with great pride, we will move on to the presentation of badges for our newest officers of the Richmond Police Department. This symbol that represents their chosen profession is the badge. A badge is not given, and it is earned, and these officers have earned those badges today. Behind every successful officer here today is a loving and supportive significant other, mom, dad, sister, brother, friend, or personal champion, and none of these officers could have made it all this way without your love and support. Each officer will have a loved one come up and assist with pinning the badge on them today. The officers will now be presented in alphabetical order, so if those loving and supportive family members and friends wish to snap a photo of the officer with Chief Edwards, come on down to the front of the stage when the officer is called. This is a celebration of the accomplishment of these officers. So we'll also have photographing at this moment, and then we'll have photos that we will share with you following the ceremony as well. So feel free to take as many pictures as you can while you're here. All right, officers, as I call your name, make your way up. Chief. Officer Stephen Allman. Family members of Stephen Allman, you're You're welcome to come up. Officer Brandon Bergman. Family members, you can come up as well. Officer Isaiah Copeland. Officer Ryan Donald. Officer Samuel Friels. Officer Vuti Ham. Family members want to come up? Officer John Melchek. Officer Kashmir Pretler. Get in there, come on. Hold your purse up good. Officer John Ridenour.
Right here, everyone, absolutely perfect. One more, good. Thank you.
Good thing the chief's tall. Officer Ashley Robinson. Officer Jeremy Rosario Hernandez. I like it. Clap.
Right here, sir, perfect. One more, good. Thank you. Right here, man. Perfect, absolutely perfect. One more, good. Thank you.
And Officer Christina Scandalous.
Perfect. One more. Good. Perfect. One more. Good. Thank you.
I know you guys were holding it all in. Now you can applaud, hoot and holler. Congratulations to the 128. Good job. I would now like to invite Chief Rick Edwards to give his charge to the class.
So I'd like to start off by thanking Mayor Stoney for coming today. As you mentioned, this will be your last, but you're still always invited. So I thank you for your service to our city over 8 years. When I first met you, I didn't see any of that gray in your beard. I can see it now. But you've had a difficult job and sometimes thankless job, so on behalf of the Richmond Police Department, I'd like to thank you for your service. All right, and Captain Flippo and the entire staff at the Academy, please give them a round of applause because they are literally. This is not an easy job they have, and they've got 25 in the next class right now that they're training, and they train all of us, keep our certifications current, and do an excellent job. And there's an old saying that says, those who can do, and those that can't do, teach. That's not true here in Richmond. We put our best in this police academy because we need the best product coming out here. So all of our academy staff, from the officers, sergeants, lieutenant, and our captain, are some of our best officers with the most experience and ability. And we appreciate them because without them, we won't have the great officers that we have on our streets. So thank you again, Captain Flippo. And to the family and friends of our newly promoted officers, I can't say it enough how important you are in their growth and development. And they're going to need you, as they needed you in this class, they're going to need you going forward because the days are going to be long and difficult. They have chosen a difficult profession in a difficult city to be a police officer. But this is a noble profession, and with your help, they will continue to thrive in this city. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for sharing them with us, with their new family, the Richmond Police Department. Now, something I talk about a lot in this job, whether I'm talking to promotees, newly hired people, is about your reputation. And I started thinking about that because you have to guard your reputation in this organization. You have to protect it and be consistent with it. Because as I say, and it's the truest advice I ever give anyone in this profession, is you are auditioning for your next job in this organization every day you come to work. You just don't realize it. So the things you're doing, the things you have started in the academy class, you're building that reputation. But when you get out on the streets and you're in that car alone, you're going to have a lot of autonomy. You know, right now you've had a field training officer and you've had someone checking to make sure you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, but soon you will be on your own and you'll have a lot more ability. Are you going to be the type of officer that calls in sick when you're really not sick? Are you going to be the type of officer that takes shortcuts on the calls so you don't have to take that report even though you know you should? Are you going to be the one that rushes to back up your partner when you really don't feel like going across the city to do that? And are you going to be the type of officer that's the calm in the storm rather than one that exacerbates the problem that you go to? So I would submit to you, guard that reputation. Everyone's watching. And do your best. And you should not just care about your reputation with your peers and your supervisors and the command staff. You should also care about your reputation with the prosecutors and judges in this city. Are you the type of officer that comes to court well prepared, squared away, answering every question to the best of your ability? Are you 100% honest when even if it means, and this is important, even if it means you lose the case? Because I'm going to tell you something, nothing is worth your integrity. No arrest, no seizure, nothing is worth your integrity and your good name. There's nothing wrong with making an honest mistake in this job. It's going to happen. But what I demand from you and what is expected of you is to be honest when you make that mistake, even if it means a guilty person goes free. And to highlight that point, I can tell you, yesterday I was invited to speak at the Richmond Bar Association at their conference. We were talking about a very specific topic on technology that's currently happening in law enforcement. And Richmond's in the news on one of these cases. We had a case go to federal court it's called Martin versus the United States. It's about license plate recognition technology and the use of it, and the use of the Fourth Amendment. And the Fourth Amendment is something you learned in your class. It's the bedrock of what it gives us the ability to search and arrest people. The Fourth Amendment in the United States Constitution says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now that short passage is debated by the smartest lawyers in this country endlessly. And they were debating it yesterday with me, and I was the only one in there without a law degree. But I had a different perspective than all those lawyers and judges that I was talking to. And one of the things I stressed with them was that this is complicated business that we're in. And even the smartest judges in the country, the U.S. Supreme Court, differs often on their interpretation of that, the Fourth Amendment, and all other laws. So again, I'm reiterating to you, I don't expect you to be perfect. If you make a mistake in the heat of the moment, admit to it, deal with it, and like I said, if an innocent or guilty person goes free, then that's what we want. That's what we want if it means you're being honest. So never worry about that. The expectations are high for you, but if you follow that rule, you won't go wrong. And I also want you to care about your reputation in the community. Now, if you've worked in the city long enough, as I have and as many of the officers and retired officers in this city can attest, people will approach you. They will know you. They may even give you a nickname. I may have a nickname, I'm not going to share today. But people will know you in the city and come up to you. So understand that it's so important that every encounter you have will be really memorable to that person. While it might be the 15th call you went to that day, understand that might be their only interaction with the Richmond Police Department, and I want you to think about how you left them with it. Were you professional? Did you give them the time they needed to express what they wanted to express? Did you help them with their problem? So always care about your reputation with your peers, with the police department, with the judges and prosecutors and attorneys, and most importantly, with our community. Because it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So when I became a sergeant in 2012, that seems like a lifetime ago, but when I became a sergeant, I wanted to give advice to the new officers and even some of the officers that worked under me, like what the expectations were. And I came up with this idea of the golden rule of policing. And I say this a lot, but it bears repeating. The golden rule of policing is you treat everyone you encounter the way you'd like your mother to be treated in a similar situation. And if you follow that rule, you won't go wrong. And it doesn't mean you don't do your job. It doesn't mean you don't write the ticket, although you should give your mother a break if you pull her over. But it doesn't mean you don't do your job, because sometimes the police have to do things that nobody wants them to do to them. We have to arrest people. We have to separate families by taking someone to jail. We have to write people tickets. We have to do things that they don't want us to do, but you can still do it with integrity and honor and in policy. And if you do that, you'll continue. If you follow that simple rule of treating people fairly, you won't go wrong. And when I give that advice, something that sometimes gets lost in what it really is saying, and what I'm really talking about is empathy. Now, empathy is not a topic that I hear police chiefs talk a lot about. It's a strange word when it comes into this realm, but I think it's really important because it's often misunderstood. People think you have to have a shared background, a shared lived experience to be able to empathize with people, and I submit that you don't in this job. Because all we need to be empathetic is to have a shared emotional experience. And what I mean by that is we all have tragedies in our lives. We all have burdens and traumas that we're carrying with us, and sometimes you would never know it about a person. But think about your own life when you encounter a person who's going through the worst day of their lives. It doesn't have to be the exact same, but to suffer is the human condition, because we all lose people, we all have setbacks, we all have tragedies in our lives, and if you can empathize with that person, you'll be ahead of the game when you do that. Because when we get empathy right in law enforcement, when we do it right, we'll form genuine connections with people despite the circumstances, despite our differences of race, gender, income level. We're all human beings and we all have that connection with each other. So tap into that part of it. Because I can tell you, and I don't mean that just for the witnesses and average citizens and victims that you come in contact with, I'm also talking to you about the people we arrest. Because I'm going to tell you something that if you haven't realized it in your 8 weeks, you will the longer you serve in this city, is that there are very few evil people in this world. Most of the people you arrest, the vast majority of people you arrest, are good people who made terrible choices. And it doesn't mean that marks them for their life, and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve your respect. And for you to just try to imagine what it's like to be in their situation. It doesn't mean you have had to have gone through the exact situation, but you can still look at that in an empathetic way. Because this job, and you're gonna see this job will callous you. It'll make you tougher and harder. And part of what I'm gonna ask you to do in this job is necessary for you to be tough. You have to harden your heart if you're gonna do some of the things we're gonna have you doing. Responding rapidly to the sound of gunfire when everyone else is running the other way. Stepping over people who are asking you for help to get to that threat. Dealing with the kind of emotionally charged situations that you have to be able to handle in this job. So, but while that is important to toughen yourself, be mindful of that part of yourself that remains empathetic, because we do not want you to become a cynic. That's really easy to become in this job, where you can look at everyone you come in contact with as the enemy, and they're not. They're our fellow citizens, they're our brothers and sisters, and treat them that way, even when you might not think you have a lot in common with them. So think of that. And to that point, I'd like to tell you a story about my career and trying to empathize with a person and it not going quite the way I would like. So in 2006, on New Year's Eve, I was an aggravated assault detective, and I responded out to a call, and I was working by myself. On the weekends, during the day shift, you only have one detective working for the whole city. So I responded to Midlothian Turnpike to a storage unit where I learned that an 18-year-old woman had been stabbed and locked into a storage unit. And she was taken to the hospital by the time I got there, but when I arrived on scene, I saw that the metal door, the pull-down door, had a padlock on it, but just above it there was drywall, and she had broken her way out of the drywall, fallen 6 feet to the ground, and was seen by someone and taken to the hospital. So I get to the scene, I'm talking to witnesses, and I learned that her boyfriend had stabbed her 28 times, locked her in there for dead. And as I'm there by myself, talking to witnesses, collecting evidence, I see former Chief Rodney Monroe. He just popped up. I'd never met him before, I'd seen him before, but he just showed up in his tracksuit. I didn't even recognize him at first. But he said, "Tell me what happened here," and I explained it to him, and he said, "Rick, you better get this guy." I said, "Yes, sir." And I went to the hospital, and I saw this young lady because I needed her to tell me what happened. And I'll never forget being at VCU Medical Center, seeing her, and I'm trying to interview her while the nurses are tending to her, and she's telling me what happened. She names the guy who did it. It was her boyfriend, that he threatened to kill her, that he thought she played dead to get through with it. And she told me his name and everything I needed to get arrest warrants, and I'll never forget the pain she was in at the time. She was in agony. The nurse, I'm looking at her back. She's laying face down, and her back is full of blood. And the nurse takes a wet towel, wipes her back, and I can finally see the skin on her back. And then a second later, it's red again, and it just pulsated with blood. And I just remember thinking, I can't imagine what this young lady went through. So it's New Year's Eve, and my wife had plans for me that night, but those plans changed when the Lumberton Police Department picked him up in North Carolina, and they called me. So I left my house and grabbed my partner, Jessica Klein, who's a forensic technician, and we drove to Lumberton. We collected the evidence, we interviewed people, got the confession, found the weapon, came back, made the arrest, and felt good about myself. But then we started the process, and I started talking to her, and what I realized is she was in trauma because she didn't want to see me. She would curse me sometimes when I'd meet with her. She was upset with how I handled the case. As the process went on, it became a very famous case at the time, so there was a national magazine about her. There were people who were sending me gifts for her, like quilts and even money and other things, so I would give them to her, and she'd be like, "This is all the money they gave me? I don't need this quilt, take that away from me." we got a call from Oprah's production unit, and they were going to do a story on her. And when I gave them the background, they contacted her, and then they called me later and said, well, we're not doing it, she's too much to deal with. And I kind of knew what they were dealing with, because as the trial went on, she was mad at me, said I should have done this and this, and he only got 11 years when we went to the sentencing hearing, and she stormed out and said, if you'd done your job right, he'd have got 20 years. And I just remember thinking like, wow, you know, this girl went through a lot, but I just chalked it up, and I just moved on. I remember thinking, I'm glad this case is over. The prosecutor, who's now a judge, said the same thing, like, we are done with this girl. I'm done with it. I did my duty, now I'm moving on to the next. And I continued to move on to the next. For 9 more years, working cases, being a sergeant, going and having other cases, and then out of the blue, 9 years later, I get an email, and it's her name on it. And she says, I want to take a minute to apologize to you. I want to tell you what I was going through, and she shared personal details of what had led up to that day. She said, I've never forgiven myself for how I treated you. Can you please send this to the prosecutor and to your partner? And it stopped me in my tracks, because I had harbored this resentment towards her. I didn't think about it a lot, but I did. I was like, ugh, maybe something terrible happened to this woman, but she's the worst. And I realized the difference in what she had dealt with before that even happened to her. And it really stopped me from thinking the worst of people, even if they treat you bad. And that's what I wanted to share with you, because it's about empathy. Even when it's hard to be empathetic, I want you to think like that, because I didn't. And learning her circumstance helped me with that. So I just wanted to share that story with you. And since becoming chief, I go out a lot in the city, and I'm recognized. I'm not as famous as the mayor, but I'm pretty famous now, to my chagrin. And I'm 6'8", so I stand out, and people just recognize me and talk to me all the time. And 90% of the time, it's good. It's positive. People say, hey, you're doing a good job. I love the officers. This officer was great, blah, blah, blah. And, but almost everyone says this to me. It's like, even other people that are in law enforcement from other jurisdictions will be like, wow, chief, you got a tough job. I don't envy you. And I always give the same response. I said, I have the best job in the world. And I don't say that because it's an easy job, because it's not. And God knows it's not easy, but nothing worth doing is easy. And to me, you know, people say this is such a tough time to be in law enforcement, and in a way it is, but I always push back and say this is the best time to be in law enforcement. This is the time for men and women of character and courage to enter this profession, like yourselves. You are needed more than ever, and you will have the sacred honor of leading this profession of policing into the future. And in many ways, I'm jealous of you. Because 25 years ago, I was in this room, being sworn in with my family. I see Debbie Fenner in here. Debbie, can you raise your hand or stand up for me? Stand up, Debbie. So Debbie is a retired Richmond police officer. We've lured her back, and she's a background investigator on the civilian side for us, but Debbie was in charge of my academy class, the 82nd Basic Recruit class in 1999. And it was tough, and she was one of those people yelling at me on those videos, because we had a video too. Betamax. All right, come on. It's ageism, come on. I'm protected now. So, but I can tell you that the city that I entered was a different city than you are now. It was a much more deadly and dangerous city. And men and women who have worn this badge and worn this uniform helped make it better over the past 25 years. And the men and women before that also made it better. And you are now part of that legacy to continue with the good work that's been done and lead this department into the future. And you will build upon that incredible RPD legacy. And there's a book by Henry David Thoreau called Walden. There's a famous quote in that book that everyone talks about, but it's the most frightening quote that I've ever read. And then he said, the mass of men lead lives of desperate of quiet desperation. Think about that. Most people don't have careers, they have jobs. They have bills they have to pay, so they show up every day to a job they hate, and they live for the weekends. But the mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. And if you're right for this job, you won't be in that mass of men and women. You will have a career that you can be proud of. You will have a calling. You will have stories. You will have the pride of knowing that you are making a difference in people's lives every day you come to work and with this police department. So I would encourage you to find your own adventures in this career. Go out and make a difference. This job is truly what you make of it. So I'm very proud of you. You've all done an excellent job, and God bless you all. Thank you.
And now for the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
As a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men, with liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example of the law, maintain a courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, and be constantly mindful of welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed, both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the law of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature that is confided to me in my official capacity will be kept never secret, unless revelation is necessary for the performance of duty. I will never act officiously or prevent personal feelings, prejudices, animosity, or friendships to influence my decisions, and no compromise of crime, and with the relentless prosecution of criminals. I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately, without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing necessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities. I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust, that I so long as I am true to the ethics of the police service. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself before God to my chosen profession, law enforcement.
Good job. All right, before we close this ceremony, I would like to take a moment to thank all of the staff here at the Training Academy. All of my guys hiding in that corner. I see the lieutenant and acting sergeant McTurnan and Butler. Please come out here. And where is Hall? And I have Officer James. All right, there you are. Show yourself. All right, I'd like to take a minute to thank you guys for the many hours of dedication that you've given to this recruit class. This is not a Monday through Friday job, and it's not a 40-hour-a-week job. These officers and supervisors dedicate long days, long weekends to mold mere recruits into great police officers. They invest every day because they believe in RPD and truly want to contribute to our success. We would not have the amazing officers we have if it weren't for you guys here today. So I wanted to embarrass you all and say thank you. I know our mayor and the chief have said that as well, but really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the hard work you do, and thanks to our major, William Blackwell, to supporting us as well, and our deputy chief Stokes. So thank you guys. And clapping. You're going to be so mad at me for that. And with that being said, before we depart today, we ask that the class to join us for a group photo out in front of the Training Academy for the class photo. Training cadre, you may now dismiss the officers from the 128th Basic Recruit class.
Left, 128,